Okay, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
No.
Okay, Braden, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
No.
Okay. Okay, Alejandro, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
I think I have an idea, but no.
You can try.
Don't know.
No? Okay. Okay, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. I don't know what the Q means.
Okay, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
I mean, I have recollection. I don't really know what it stands for, but I know it's like gay rights and stuff like that, and about transgenders.
Good. Do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
No.
Okay, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
Yeah.
Say it.
Wait. Okay. L, lesbian. G, gay. I think. Okay. And then bisexual. And transgender.
Do you know what the Q means?
No.
No? Okay. Do you know what LGBTQ stands for? Okay. Do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
Lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, and then queer.
Do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
Yes, I do.
Say it.
Oh, I don't know all of them, but it's like lesbian and all that. Gay, bisexual, trans, and then I don't know the rest.
That's okay.
But
Good. Okay, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
LGBT.
Q. Yep.
I mean, I know what the first four letters stand for.
That's okay. You can say what you know.
Lesbian, gay, bi, and LGBT. Lesbian, gay, bi. I forget the other ones.
That's okay.
Trans.
Brandon, do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
Lesbian, bisexual, gay, transsexual, questioning. My girlfriend is in there.
Do you know what LGBTQ stands for?
No.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining for another Make a Difference session. My name's Alexis Cronus, and behind the camera again is Anthony Quinn. So what you just saw was 15 different students from 13 different advisories selected at random answered a question, and the question was, what does LGBTQ stand for? So I guess you know what the topic is for this podcast is the LGBTQ community, and out of those 15 students, only one knew what every letter stood for, and the correct answer was lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning. So now we're going to go on to a little research session, and then followed by a really cool 6 different interviews with students from high school. So hope you enjoy. Okay, so now onto the research portion, and just remember that all of these are from expert sources, meaning that they have a PhD, and they will all be listed in the link down below, so go check the description box. So we'll be listing each side, of course, so the pros and the cons. And the first topic is the biological origins of sexual orientation. So for the pro, although all people in all societies, with rare exceptions, are socialized to be heterosexual, the predictable universal appearance of homosexual persons, despite socialization into heterosexual patterns of behavior, suggests not only that homosexual orientation is biologically based, but that sexual orientation itself is also biologically derived. And then for the con, what is clear, however, is that scientific attempts to demonstrate that homosexual attraction is biologically determined have failed. The major researchers now prominent in the scientific arena themselves, gay activists have in fact arrived at such conclusions. There is no support in the scientific research for the conclusion that homosexuality and is biologically determined. Okay, so now on to the next topic is parenting styles and homosexuality. So for the pro, for years, psychology and psychiatry have bandied around theories that homosexuality is caused by parental personality types, the dominant female and the weak male, or by the absence of the same gender role models. Those theories are no longer accepted within psychiatry and psychology. And the con for this matter is those with deep-seated homosexual tendencies identify themselves as homosexual persons and are usually unwillingly to examine their emotional conflicts that cause this tendency. Strong physical attraction is present to other men's bodies and to the masculinity of others due to profound weakness in male confidence. The most common origins of these emotional weaknesses in men arise from a lack of closeness and affirmation in the father relationship and with male peers. These emotional conflicts result in weaknesses in male confidence, sadness, loneliness, anger, and often poor body image. In addition, those from divorced family backgrounds have major trust weaknesses. And the next topic is childhood sexual experiences. So for the pro side, while there are different theories about how the sexual orientation develops, experts in the human sexuality field do not believe that premature sexual experience play a significant role in late adolescent or adult sexual orientation. The con states that men who sexually molest boys are too often led their victims into homosexuality and pedophilia. The evidence indicates that a high percentage of homosexuals and pedophiles were themselves sexually abused as children. And the next topic is homosexuality and mental health. So the pro states that psychologists, psychiatrists, and other mental health professionals agree that homosexuality is not an illness, mental disorder, or an emotional problem. Over 35 years of objective, well-designed scientific research has shown that homosexuality Over 35 years of objective, well-diagnosed scientific research has shown that homosexuality in and of itself is not associated with mental disorders or emotional or social problems. When researchers examined data about these people who were not in therapy, the idea of homosexuality was a mental illness was quickly found to be untrue. And the con states that my primary question is, what isn't sexuality considered a The con states that why isn't homosexuality considered a disorder on the basis of its medical consequences alone? Homosexuality involves a life-threatening behavior with an addictive component which has serious health implications. Very simply, it seems an objective person just looking at homosexuality's lifestyle consequences would have to classify it as some kind of pathology. The next topic is anatomical differences between hetero and homosexuals. The pro states that a growing body of empirical literature suggests that the brains of gay males are less masculinized than those of heterosexual males, reflected in visual spatial task performance, a measure of cerebral masculinization. Males usually surpass females. Several studies report that the cognitive performance of gay males is more typical of heterosexual females than heterosexual males. Furthermore, the brain waves of gay males while performing verbal and spatial tasks are more similar to heterosexual females. And for the con side, scientists have barely been able to distinguish between the microstructure of male and female brains in adults, let alone between male homosexual and female brains. Attempts to prove such a similarity have been unconvincing. Male and female brains appear identical at birth, and the only consistency female brains that appear identical at birth, and the only consistently replicable difference from about age 2 or 3 is their size. Most of the development of the human brain takes place after birth in response to stimuli, learning, and experience. The brain changes so much in response to learning and repeated human behaviors that this could probably account for any differences between homosexual and heterosexual brains, which might be ultimately discovered. And the final topic is the Christian perspective on homosexuality. So the pro side says that where the Bible mentions homosexual behavior at all, it clearly condemns it. I freely grant that. The issue is precisely whether the biblical judgment is correct. The Bible sanctioned slavery as well, and nowhere attacked it as unjust. Are we prepared to argue today that slavery is biblically justified? Now, Kant says homosexuality may not have been mentioned by Jesus. Many other sexual variations were not either. But he could have spelled out the standards for sexual expression more clearly, male to female, joined as God intended them to be. He cannot be assumed to have approved anything less. So again, just remember that all these were direct quotes from expert sources, and they will be down below. Now on to the interview. Introduce yourself.
Alright, I'm Ashley. I'm 16 and I'm a sophomore here at WCHS.
And then, how did you know that you were transgender? Like, when did you know?
I guess it's been around a few years. I just came out a few weeks ago. It's honestly not something you just instantly know. It's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself, and then being able to have the courage to come out to other people.
Yeah, what kind of questions did you have to ask yourself? Pause. Sorry. So I said, what kind of questions did you have to ask yourself?
To ask myself is really, is this a thing I'm really willing to commit myself to? Because you can have doubts a lot, but it's mostly just, are you willing to commit yourself and kind of brand yourself as pariah nowadays in social media? And I'm totally willing to do that. It's who I am. It's what I am. I'm still myself. It shouldn't identify myself. It's me. It doesn't matter what gender I am. So, yeah.
And then, how have your friends, family, teachers, and just students reacted to it?
My friends, I didn't come straight out to them. I joked around a lot for it, and when I did finally come out, they thought it was another joke. So I've had to deal with people thinking it's a joke. I haven't dealt with any outright hate. There have been weird glances or people not talking to me, and the staff's been really cool about accommodating the changes in pronouns and names and stuff.
And then, how does that make you feel when, you said, people kind of thought you were kind of joking, but it's serious for you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it, because for a long time people don't think it's, an actual thing you'll do. They think it's a phase because you're young and stuff like that. I guess it's just kind of hard, because even if they repeatedly just say it's a joke, it's not. It's what I am. So it's alright the first few times, but 3 weeks later, not a joke, man.
Yeah.
Not a joke.
How about your family?
Loaded question, my friend. But yeah, my family's taken to it well. It's fine. They're working on it. My mom's had the hardest time with it though, but she's trying it.
And then, I know you've mentioned a few, but what other struggles do you think you've faced, even at school or in public or at home?
Probably in public is a lot of people here talk. So I've had people's parents come up to me and oh, we so support you, and I haven't talked to them in years. Or I'll have people who give me weird glances, or I'll hear people talking about me when I walk by, and it's kind of irritating. But at the same time, it's their opinions. It doesn't matter to me.
And then, is there anything that you would say to people who do have hate towards this subject?
why do you hate me so much? Like, seriously. Like, it's just how people are. Your friends are still your friends. Your siblings are still your siblings. They're still them. All that changes is how the pronouns they use or, like, who they date. That's all that changes. They're still them.
And then, do you have, like, any advice to anyone that's going through what you're going through or what you've been through?
Probably the best thing is to be honest with yourself, especially. Don't let people just tell you it's a phase or it's really not. Like, think about it, take some time to consider, and after all that's done, don't care what people say. It's easier once you accept yourself.
Good, thank you so much. That was awesome. Okay, so introduce yourself.
I'm Owen, I'm a junior, and...
That's good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so explain your, like, opinions or experiences with the LGBTQ community.
Well, so you know, I'm gay, but, you know, it's just like, it's a great community. Like, they're fun, they're very open-minded, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're not really quick to judge, so yeah.
And then, have you faced any challenges during, like, being a gay high school student?
I mean, people, like, obviously, like, gave you looks, and they're, like, rude to you, but, like, I mean, you just gotta kind of have, like, a thick skin and, like, go through it and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, so kind of explain growing up, like, when did you kind of know?
Well, I was always the kid who wanted to play with, like, Barbies and, like, be Cinderella for Halloween, like, till I was, like, in middle school, so, like, I always, like, was, like, oh, in love, like, so I was always kind of more the feminine guy, and the other guys were playing, like, football and stuff, so I just sort of, like, oh, and then just, like, one day was like, oh, he's kind of good looking, and it just kind of led to other stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, kind of still going along with that, do you feel like it's something that people just kind of choose, or you just, it's just you, it's just who you are?
Okay, so that's where I'm big on. It's not a choice, because I'm just not, like, waking up one day and being like, oh, I'm going to like guys today. It's just, that's not how it works. You don't wake up and decide one day you're gonna like girls. Like, it just doesn't work like that. I mean, it's all just kind of like how we're born.
Is there anything that you would kind of say to people who don't agree with your opinions and views?
Frankly, like, I really don't care what they think, because, like, I mean, if they aren't paying your bills, pay them no mind, so, yeah.
And then, well then, like, the reverse, what advice would you give to maybe a young gay boy kind of, like, hiding and doesn't want to come out?
My thing is just own it. Like, trust me, there will be more people out there who will love you than hate you. Like, oh my gosh, you'll have so many friends. People just will love you and accept you with open arms. It gets better. It really does. That sounds cliche, but it does.
And then, I think the last one, are there any worries that you have to, like, face other than the, like, a straight person with, like, going out in public or anything, like, extra you would have to worry?
I mean, you always, like, so say, like, you have a boyfriend or something, you always have to kind of be aware of your surroundings, because you never know what people will say or do, if they'll get violent or if they'll say something. So you just have to kind of be aware, because, you know, like a boyfriend and girlfriend, they can go, like, hug and kiss, but, like, if I went out with my boyfriend, it's kind of like, oh, you have to be aware and self-conscious of, like, what you're doing and when and who's looking in. So, yeah, you're just kind of aware of your surroundings.
And then how have your parents and friends and, like, teachers reacted, or?
Oh, my parents were great. Their mom was like, I always knew. You were always the boy who wanted to play with Barbies. So she always knew. My dad was super cool, super chill, super relaxed. Teachers don't seem to really have a problem with it. My friends are great. Love them. They're super accepting. And yeah, I mean, I've always been, I don't have like a coming out horror story where people are like kicked out of their houses, and like, I don't have that. So I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful that I was like accepted with open arms. So I'm thankful for that.
And then anything else you think?
Nope.
Oh, and you're awesome. Introduce yourself, name, age.
I'm Pueschell. I just turned 18 today. I'm a senior at WCHS, and I'm helping Alexis and Anthony with the podcast.
Okay, and then what is your congregation and what religion would you consider yourself to be?
So I consider myself a Christian. I go to an evangelical free church, so we don't kind of discriminate against denominations. So like no matter if you're Catholic, if you're Methodist, if you're Muslim, like you're welcome into our church building, and we'd love to have you. So yeah, pretty open.
And have you been religious like your whole life since you were born?
I have. My dad has been a pastor for as long as I can remember. He's been a worship pastor. So I have grown up in a Christian home and with the Christian belief system.
Okay. First question is, what is your like religion's like stance on this topic?
From a biblical standpoint, we believe that the choice of being gay or lesbian or trans or whichever thing that you identify with, we believe that's a sin. We believe it's wrong, but that does not mean that we necessarily condemn it. We don't believe that any one sin is worse than any other sin. So it's still treated the same way as a lie would or stealing or anything like that. So we do believe it's wrong, but that doesn't mean that we dehumanize or mistreat in any different way than we would anybody else. I think we're still called to love people where they're at, rather than judging them based off their decisions.
Okay, and then I don't know if this question makes sense. In my head it does, so if I need a word to tell me. But have your like interactions with people that are a part of that community, have your beliefs been like challenged with that?
I wouldn't necessarily say challenged. I have several friends that are a part of that community, and they're wonderful people. I love them to death, and I support them in all of their other decisions, not necessarily that decision, but I think because on both sides of the conversation we've remained very open with each other and have really meaningful conversations about what it means to be the way I am and what it means to be the way they are, and so it's very open. We don't attack each other, and I think that's where a lot of people start getting pressure and start causing conflict, just because everything is so close-minded. And so personally, I have never felt necessarily challenged by somebody else, but I think that having those conversations is a really good thing, so on either side.
What would you say to, because there are some religious people that, like you said, you're friends with people a part of that community, and some religious people would just completely shut them out. Some even, there's like protests against it and stuff like that. What would you say to those people? Do you have any like advice or any particular thing?
I think because unfortunately we do see a lot of Christians doing that, protesting, and we see families disowning children that choose that path of life, and while I believe that particular choice is wrong, that doesn't make anybody any less human, and that choice doesn't define who they are. So my religion teaches to love people where they're at, and we all make mistakes, and everybody messes up. So just because you did this maybe wrong thing and I did this wrong thing doesn't mean that we should be treated differently. And yeah, I think if you're claiming to be a Christian or any other religion for that matter, and you're dehumanizing people for a choice that they made, I think that says something about you that maybe is more negative than this thing that you're calling out. So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy when looking at who's saying what about who and differences of opinion and stuff like that. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. you have anything else to say. Anything that everyone's If not, that's okay too. Thanks.
Hey, my name is Wyatt Suver. I am a practicing Christian, as I would like to say. I go to church at least. I try to go every week, if not 2 times a week, to youth groups, and yeah.
And then what like denomination are you part of? What church do you go to? I know, but tell me.
Yeah, the church I go to is Trinity Church over by Walmart in Watsika. Pretty sure we're evangelical free, if I remember correctly, but yeah.
Okay, so what is your religion point of view on the LGBTQ?
Well, one of the main points about that is I think, of course, in the Bible, we are not supposed to, like, gays and LGBT, like that whole community is sinful, but I think a problem that most people have is they think that because we don't support it, we immediately hate them and that we don't like them, which is not true, because the Bible calls us to love our neighbors and love all people no matter what the decisions they make. So we may not support them in what they do, but we are still called to be kind to them and still love them.
Okay, and then how long have you been a part of your religion, like in your family history growing up?
My mother grew up Christian, my father grew up Catholic, and then I think it's just basically been in my family since for as long as I can remember, and I've grown up in the church, and I've been going to the same church for 17 years of my life now, so.
Good, and then I forgot to ask you that, so we'll cut that. And then what are your opinions then, how that you place to your religion?
My opinion, because of how heavily religious that I've been raised, it's the same thing, though I do find myself, because I am human, I do find myself getting angry towards the community sometimes, just because of the way that I am. And so, while I know in my heart that I need to be kind to them and I need to, be not supportive of what they are doing, I still need to be supportive of them as people and not, like, I can't change the fact that they're gay. I can't do that, and I can't force somebody to believe the same things I believe, because it's never going to happen. And so I just need to, I guess, follow my religion and still be kind to them, because I know that I won't ever be able to. It would be very difficult for me to convert them from what they are, because they are born the way that they are.
And so then you just said, like, you're talking about, like, converting. Is that part of, like, your religion is to not try to, but kind of influence?
Yes, it is part of our religion to share the good news of God and Jesus and that whole thing. So it's not like we need to be forcing you to go to church, because that wouldn't be good for either of us. It's more of just make sure to be sharing the gospel and sharing, just words of encouragement with you based off of my religion.
So then, and two, you talk about kind of your beliefs are a little challenged by, like, your personal opinion. So then, have you not necessarily friends, but have you ever talked on a personal level to anyone of it, part of this community? Or?
Well, my cousin, and I'll say her name because she's fine with it, is Julian. She is lesbian, and so we've had conversations about it. The other side, my mother's youngest sister is not as religious as us. Like, she still believes she still has some of the core beliefs that we do, but both of her kids lean more towards that community. So I've had conversations with them, and I understand where they're coming from and all that. So.
Did I miss anything that I asked for that I didn't write down?
The challenge one, or is that kind of similar like that one?
And then anything I've always said, if you have anything else to say, you can say.
I got nothing.
You're good?
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, so introduce yourself, like your name.
My name is Dylan Thompson. I'm 17 and I'm a senior at WCHS.
So what are your views on like the LGBTQ community? So people who are gay, bisexual, transgender.
They like. I feel like they have rights, and they have rights like anyone else, and they're people too. But like.
Wait.
I feel like they are attacked a lot, and I understand why, but I also don't understand why. Like people find them as like an enemy, I guess. I'm okay with them as long as they don't like try to influence me to be a part of that, because it's not like my belief. So as long as they don't try to influence me, then I'm okay with it.
So you're more like neutral, you would say?
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes like with what you're talking about. So all the things you just said, did you kind of just think of that like that's just how you've always thought, or have your parents influenced you, or?
No, my parents they're trying to just like whatever. Like, they don't really care about it, I guess, because it doesn't involve them, so it doesn't bother them too much. And that's just kind of my opinion on it. Like that's just what I've always thought. So.
And then, have you had any interactions with people who are part of that community?
Yes.
Explain.
What do you mean explain?
Like what interactions with?
Like when I went on vacation for an example, I went to Nashville over Christmas last year, and there was like we went to the Grand Ole Opry, and they had like it was like a convention kind of thing going on, and there was like a stand of people from that group, and they had like I was like listening to something. They had like a motivational speaker that was he was gay, and I like listened to some of the things he said and like how he's treated in his hometown, and like in high school he was the homecoming king, and like he was a prom king and stuff, and he was really popular in high school, and then he ended up like being gay as he got like when he got older he realized he was gay, or however that works, I don't really know, but. And he got treated a lot different. He's like from a small town, and people like found out he was gay, and he got treated a lot different. Like, I don't know, that's kind of the only. I mean, I'm sure I've interacted with other people that were gay, and I just haven't known it. But I don't really.
So do you like? So, since that is really the only interaction, then if you were surrounded by more people from that community, would you treat them like you would anyone else, or like just kind of try to stay distant from, or?
I would, and honestly, I'd probably try to stay distant because, like, I don't believe in it, but if it's not, like, if I'm not trying to be influenced by it, then it's not bothering me, but, like, I feel like if I was around it more, like, and around it all the time, and I feel like I would be, like, I feel like my beliefs would be different, but I'm not, so.
So you keep saying like you don't want them to influence you. So by that, like what do you mean by being influenced?
So like I don't want them to like, if a gay male was like coming to me and like try to hit on me or something like that, I feel like I wouldn't take that very well. Or like if I was to try like another male like tried getting me to turn gay, I guess I feel like I wouldn't deal with that in a well manner, I guess.
Okay.
I feel like I'd kind of be like weirded out by it, or like surprised, I guess.
And you do not have to answer this. This is like one of the questions, but so if who's one of your best friends?
Devin's in it.
So Devin, what if Devin in like 5 years told you, hey man, I'm gay? Like what would happen?
I'd be shocked. I'd be like, I feel like my response would not be like, I don't know if I would just be like more of shock that I wouldn't be able to say anything, or if I'd be like, honestly, if he told me that, I'd probably think he was kidding, like as a joke. So I really don't know how I would take that. I feel like we'd still like, be friends and stuff because he knows how I feel about it. So I feel like we'd be able to like, keep our friendship and stuff because I feel like he wouldn't try to influence me or anything like that. So I think I'd be able to take it okay.
kind of said this, and you can just say, yeah, I already answered it. Do you think that they deserve the same like rights that you do or anyone else does?
Yeah, man. And I mean, people have beliefs. You know, they're gonna treat them how they want to, but there's nothing different with them than anyone else. So yeah, I do feel like they deserve the same rights as everyone else. So.
Any other thing you want to say?
No, that's all.
Thanks, Dylan. Okay, Clay, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Clay Dorsey. Yeah.
Age, class.
Oh, yeah, I'm a junior. I'm 16.
Okay, so what are your views on the LGBTQ community? So gay people, bisexuals, transgenders?
It's just, I've never been a fan, mainly because, like, religion is important to me, and I've always thought that, you know, in the Bible it says not to do this, so I thought that's wrong, that can't be done, which I don't tend to say something to people that think it's okay, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's correct.
So, with your religion, would you consider yourself pretty religious, or?
I mean, I'm not like a Bible thumper by any means, but I do believe in God, the Christian God, and I believe that what he says is law. So in the Bible, it states something about a man shall not lie down with another man, and vice versa. So I've always thought that's what's supposed to happen, and what the LGBTQ community is incorrect.
And have your parents influenced your thoughts any, or?
Not really. I mean, I do have none of my family really has influenced it. I mean, I do have some aunts and an uncle that are homosexual, and I mean, I love them with all my heart, but I just don't agree with what they do.
Good, so then that was the next question, like how do you treat people that are part of this community? So you would say, yeah, what would you say?
I wouldn't, I mean, anyone that's a part of it, I'm not going to say anything to you directly, but if you're doing something that's bothering me, I'm going to ask politely for you to stop doing that.
And then this is like kind of a personal one. So like, who would one of your best friends?
Let's go Austin Grosser.
Austin. So say if Austin in 10 years told you like, hey, I'm gay, like what would your response sort of be to that?
I mean, I would still love the guy. He's a good friend of mine, but I can't agree with what they do.
So, would you say that you're supportive of Austin now, like in anything he does, or?
I mean, yeah.
So would you still continue to be?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you believe that people that are part of this community deserve the same rights that you do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think that there's anyone, in a sense, I don't necessarily respect the fact that they can get married, but I accept it. I'm not going to try and take it away, because that's, I mean, in the Bill of Rights it states, essentially you can do whatever you want, but I just don't feel comfortable with it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And then, did I miss anything? No? Okay. Any last things you want to say?
No, I mean, I think it's important that, you know, in today's society, everyone wants everyone to be on the same page. And I need people to respect that, okay, I understand that you don't agree with what I believe in, but I also need you to understand that I don't agree with what you believe in. And I don't need people trying to change my opinions.